Alright, we're still solving equations in inequality. We're in section 2.4, which is solving formulas, dealing with formulas. You know, in math, there's a lot of formulas, but sometimes you guys, me, we all get confused about what we're looking for when they toss in variables. You know, those letters. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to evaluate a formula. That means we're looking for a specific number. And then we're going to solve a formula for a specified, sorry if I could speak, variable. So we're going to look for a certain variable. These take practice and they take a little bit of time. Don't rush. So when you're working with these, many applications in math involve relationships among two or more quantities. And an equation that represents such a relationship will use two or more letters known as a formula. And we've got some things like this. For example, the formula m equals 1/5 times t can be determined how far in miles, represented by m, you are from a lightning strike when its thunder takes t seconds to reach your ears. If it takes 5 seconds for the sound of thunder to reach you after you have seen the lightning, how far away is the storm? And that's what we're going to talk about. And that is a game. If you've ever watched Message in a Bottle, they play that game on that movie. How many of you as kids have ever played that game to see how far it is? Or your parents have told you, okay, that's getting a little close, time to come inside. So those are things that we need to look at. So to make this work out, the formula is m equals 1/5 times t. And so now we're going to substitute 5 in for t. So m equals 5 times 5 over 1, because we're plugging 5 in for t. So m equals 5 over 5, which simply is 1. So our storm is exactly 1 mile away based on this formula. So let's look at this one. We're solving for a different formula. They're wanting us to solve for r. Now let's think about it. D equals r times t. Does anybody think they remember what that is? It's a distance equals rate times time. So if you're traveling, you can figure out how far you're going if you know how many hours you've traveled, what your speed is in your car, those kinds of things. But this time they're wanting us to solve for r. So the first thing I do is I go back and find where my r is and look and see what's going on. So we have t being multiplied by r. How do we get something that is being multiplied to go away? You divide. So we're simply going to divide both sides by t. When you do, this one goes away. So distance over time equals our rate. And we're solved because we got r completely by itself, and that's what it wanted us to do. Now, this formula, we're going to be solving just for x. Just for x. So how do we get x by itself this time? You have y equals x plus b. So you have something being added to it. So I'm going to subtract b from both sides. So now I have y minus b equals x. Did I get that variable by itself? I did, so we're finished. And you could have said negative b. Whoops, let me write that better. If you had read it differently on your own, you could have said negative b plus y equals x. Either one of those is correct. So this one wants to get y completely by itself. So let's look at y. Not only do we have something being multiplied to it, we also have something being added to it. So y is what we want to get alone. So I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So now that gives me wy equals z minus x. And then we need to get this y still by itself, and it's being multiplied by w. So I'm going to divide both sides by w. So now y equals z minus x, ooh, what an ugly x, divided by w. And we're done. We got w by itself, and that was our goal. We got y by itself, and that was our goal. So when you're working with formulas, The best way to do is to multiply on both sides to clear fractions or decimals if that is needed. Collect like terms on each side if necessary. Get all the terms with the variable or the letter, as you call it, to be solved for on one side of the equation and the terms on the other side. Okay? Collect the like terms again if necessary and solve for the letter in question. So this one's a little bit different. This formula, and it's not all written right here, equals pi RD. Circumference equals pi times diameter. And so we are trying to find what the diameter is. It wants us to solve for D. So if you have C equals pi times D, we want to get rid of the pi, so we divide both sides by pi. And so our final answer, diameter equals the circumference divided by pi. And we're finished. We will practice some of these formula problems in class.